Good evening, everybody. It's John here from Tutor to You, welcoming you along to another live stream revision blast for A-Level Sociology, a second, I believe, exclusively for our Grade Booster digital online course. Massive welcome to anybody who's joining us live, and also massive welcome to anybody who's watching this on replay. And a big hello to both Katie in the middle of the screen and Craig on the right-hand side. Good evening, both.
Hi, guys.
Evening, John.
Craig, do you want to just give us a little bit of a rundown of what we're covering tonight?
Yeah, sure, John. We're going to look at some of the other options on paper 2. Last week we looked at beliefs and family, which is obviously sort of like on the course if you want to catch up on that. This week we're going to look at culture and identity, and we're going to look at media. Katie's going to take you through the culture and identity part, looking at some of the advanced information that was released by AQA back in February for this year's papers. And I'll take you through the media section of this Grade Booster. This live stream, which I should
Brilliant
say.
Stuff. Okay, shall we get started?
Okay. Let's get started. Over to you, Katie.
Okay, so we've got a 2-minute activity. John's going to give you sort of 1 minute in, and we'll let us know, and then when 2 minutes up. We've got. You may have come across this activity already, something similar before. What we're going to do, if we can flip to the next slide, it's called 3, 2, 1, and what we want is it's related to your culture element of your culture and identity. Although obviously there's some sort of crossover with the identity element. I want 3 key terms related to feminism, theory and culture, 2 to functionalism, and last but not least, 1 with postmodernism and culture. I think we should just get going. So let's start. Let's get those keyboards going and get some ideas down. Let's go. So 3 key terms.
Just enter your key terms. Go enter your key terms sort of like into the chat box. And we'll be able to see sort of like your responses, and then after the 2 minutes is up, Katie's going to give you the responses that she's come up with.
I'm sure yours are far better than mine, to be honest. And what's great about this unit is you can pretty much throw anything in there. So you can sort of throw some stuff in from the education unit. Craig and I were just talking about this, potentially family, even from, crime potentially. It's quite a synoptic element to the cultural identity, particularly the theories.
It is. It is. I mean, if you think of it, if you consider sort of like kind of those kind of pillars that run right the way through, sort of like the A-level sociology, culture is one of those. Identity. I mean, you might want to sort of like bring in some of the stuff you've done on identity formation from education, for example. And if we're thinking about functionalism, well, think about some of those functionalist ideas of crime that have come up as well that may be able to be put in there. And of course, postmodernity, some of those key features of postmodernity which may come up certainly on the 10 markers on paper 3, but also sort of like it might come up as a 10 mark. It might come up in your 20 mark
20 marker.
advanced information question. Yeah. So we've got some, some responses coming through here. We've got Daisy, sort of like I said, value consensus and social solidarity. A couple of good terms there. Good, strong functionalists. Yes, they are for functionalism. Some strong kind of functionalist terms there. Always. People, it's always good to see people know their Durkheim.
And here's the postmodernists coming through there.
Yes,
believe it or not, that's our 2 minutes up.
Oh, is that your 2 minutes? Is there any other
I was just going to say something. We'll let you go through some of the. I was going to say something. We'll let you go through sort of like some of your postmodern concepts here. We've got hyperheterosexuality.
Oh, lovely.
Wolf. I'm assuming that's by Wolf. A male gaze, patriarchy as well for feminism is coming up as well there through. Obviously, this type of activity, people are sort of like typing away and sort of like they're all running up through. Should we have a look at see what sort of
let's have a look at some
you've got, Katie?
Amazing. So obviously you're on there. You mentioned male gaze already, and I was sort of when I was typing, I was like, "Oh, do I write down male gaze? Do I write down male stream?" But I went for male stream. So at the end of the day, there's lots of feminist concepts there. You can got patriarchy, you've got inequality, but you've already said some amazing ones. And like Craig just said, some of those sort of key pillar concepts, patriarchy is so essential to the feminist ideologies. Okay, the next one is functions. I think someone said value consensus. Obviously, that's an amazing idea. Got consensus there, same sort of principle, and obviously social order. But the ones you've said already, lots of ideas from Durkheim. Okay, and last but not least, I went for pick a mix, but there's plenty more that you've said already. And postmodernism is a real sort of strong theory here. So in the cultural identity unit, so it's worth sort of revising.
We had a few through sort of like. Sorry, Katie, we had a few through while you were talking there, sort of like hyperreality, simulacra, other concepts like that, diversity, globalization, lots of different concepts that have come through as well.
Excellent. Amazing. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I think we'll just carry on rolling on today. So we're going to look at the bubble quiz, which is sort of a real sort of just recall activities for you to really get some sort of revision there. So it's something that you can think, oh, do you know what? If we don't know that, that's fine. That's something you can brush up on, or it's just sort of recalling your memories, sort of something that's sort of a nice thing to do just to sort of see how much you already know. So again, we're going to be focused on sort of cultural identity. So what we've got is different questions, and again, answers A, B, C, or D can be correct. It can be two of them, one of them, all of them. Let's go. So the first one is, which are the features of mass culture? Okay, so is it A, preferred by the middle classes? Is it majority of society's distinct set of norms and values, or expensive? Is it one of those, all of those, none of them? Write down your answers in the chat. Just have to write A, B, or C, or D. You don't have to write the full answer. So which are features of mass culture? What are people going for?
We've got B and C.
Okay.
Coming up. We've got the majority of society's distinct set of norms and values. Okay, so they're coming up.
Okay, so let's see the answer. Brilliant. Yeah, it's the majority of society mass culture. And obviously, that's one of your AIs is looking at the different types of cultures there. So I'm not going to say too much about it because it's one of our questions in a minute. So I don't want to say too much about the different cultures. Okay, question 2. Which is a feature of higher culture? Is it sophisticated, expensive, accessible to all, preferred by the middle classes or upper classes as well? Sort of hinting a little bit there. So is it A, B, C, or D? All of them, some of them? Which answer do you think are related more to high culture?
I thought you were going to put grade booster on as one of those answers there as a feature of high culture.
Could do.
We've got A, B, and D.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming through as responses here.
Cool.
See
Shall we see what the
common
answers
responses:
are?
A, B, and D.
Oh yeah, I think A actually would be on there. For some reason, it might be a bit of a typo on maybe my part there. So, sophisticated, expensive, and preferred by the middle and the upper classes. So you could go for the sophisticated element as well. Accessible to all. That's more linked to mass culture there. So amazing. Okay, well done.
One of the just interesting. One of the arguments with new media as well that you might include is that high culture is becoming more accessible through new media, but it's probably still less accessible to everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's a good evaluation point to put in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when you think about how sort of how new media has changed so much, but we can get into conversation maybe about that later or another time. Okay, so 2 stages of socialization obviously has a massive impact on both your culture and your identity. Should be a really easy question. Here's that primary, secondary, initial or quarterly, A, B, C or D? Or all of them, some of them, none of them?
We've got A and B coming up as just common responses
okay.
here.
And that's
saying
a bit
A and B.
easy. I mean, excellent. So obviously, if you were sort of into year 12, you probably would have been able to answer this question 2-3 weeks into the course potentially. So excellent. Primary and secondary sociology, sort of bread and butter of sociology. So well done, guys. Okay, and which are types of cultures? So you could be assessed on some of these, none of these. I don't know. We don't know. We're not AQA. So which of these are types of culture? Is it global, popular, mass, or high? Obviously, it's not an exhaustive list. What answers have you got? A, B, C, or D? All of them, none of them? What are you expecting to turn up as types of cultures you've learned this year?
Well, we're getting quite a mixed bag, but sort of like most of them, sort of say all of them. All of those are types
all
of
of
culture.
them, all of them,
Is the
and
answer
more,
of
and
Daisy's? What I
more.
put the answer in is all of them.
Yeah, all of them. A, B, C, D.
Could include
And obviously,
folk
it might
culture.
be, I think Lowe's missing from there as well. But, it's an exhaustive list that you can have, and folk culture as well. So, obviously, you've got that, you've seen access to AI material. But obviously, and I know that, Craig, you've got what's it, like a video tutorial around the different cultures as well.
We've just done the videos. We've released the videos for the advanced information specification point this week. So if you want to go into tutor2u.net, you'll be able to access those, or on the Tutor2U YouTube channel as well.
Excellent. So if you want to brush up on any of those cultures, and I think what's really great about that, as I was looking, is their sort of timestamp. So if there's some particular culture you don't know, that you think, do you know what? Just need to know a little bit more about folk culture. Then you can go on there and look at the timestamp on that. Okay. Next activity from one more question. Which feature of Marxist culture? Again, some of them, all of them. What is that? Is it commodity fetishism, social order, ideological control, social control? Which elements are linked to Marxist view of culture? So what answers are we putting in? Are we putting A's, B's, C, D?
We've got C and D at the moment coming through.
Okay.
Certainly one that I think, another one that we might add.
Yeah.
Asking, what is A? What is commodity fetishism?
So this is when the sort of working classes buy, I suppose, commodities, products in order to sort of buy into potentially what they think might be a higher culture or a culture of capitalism. And it's sort of that idea of ownership might make them feel, I say might, this is obviously the Marxist slant. Obviously, a functionist would see that as a good thing. It'd be part of capitalist ideology that you need to have those things. So again, I think we've talked about this a lot. It's this two sides of the same coin idea. So Marxists and functionists often talk about the same things, but one talks about it in sort of more of a negative, which obviously the Marx is a conflict theory, and the functionists talk about it as more a consensus theory. That's as a way of making society function ultimately. But yeah, Marxists would see this as a conflict idea of exploiting the working classes to buy stuff they don't really need in order to benefit capitalism.
And
would that be right?
it also gives them higher status, doesn't it? It gives them higher status. I think Daisy's sort of put through what is A? It might give you a hint as to whether you would include that answer in your
Mhm.
answers now as well. Particularly Katie's description, they're talking about sort of like, how it's purchasing goods and how this may potentially give them status in order
Mhm.
to make them seem better than they are, or that type of idea. Let's look.
I mean,
Should we
also,
look
I
at
was
the
going to say at
answers?
this point, don't worry too much. If obviously I'm going to put on if it's A, B, and C, I just want to make a point. Don't worry so much if these are new concepts to you. I wouldn't at this stage, unless it's just one concept, of course, go on and revise it. But at the end of the day, there'll be concepts that I've put on there that not necessarily any better than ones you've already learned at school or sixth form. At the end of the day, there's a whole range of Marxist concepts, and the main thing is you understand what you know, and this is just a
Sure.
refresher, okay, at this stage, yeah. Okay, so next activity.
So we did have A added to that answer there as well.
Okay, excellent. Were there any other ideas that were shared?
Daisy
Did
did
you
add
want
an
to?
answer A after your explanation. So
Oh, excellent,
no,
fantastic. Well done, there.
let's go through. If you just carry on, we'll just go on to the connections. But
Excellent. So what we're going to do here is we're still concentrating on our theories. So what will happen is in a minute you'll see a range of cultures on I haven't suggested a particular theory. Let's see, because certain cultures might align themselves better with other sort of different theories align themselves better with different cultures. So what it's going to do is
yeah.
a connection spin is just going to spin. It's going to land on a culture, and what you've got to do is think of key concepts to relate to a theory that would explain or understand that culture. So let's see where it lands first. Okay, so it's landing on high culture. We've looked briefly at how high culture already. So what I want to do is you to write some sort of key concepts, some ideas, what the theories might say about high culture. It doesn't have to be full sentences. It could just be key words. So if you saw that question in exam, theoretically, how would you understand that? How might you analyse it? Are there any particular theories that are more of a go-to than others that would explain it? And remember, I mentioned earlier that two sides of the same coin idea. That often
So
a
we've
couple
got
of
some
things
people
can
coming through,
take
sort of
in.
saying Marxism.
Mm-hmm.
Marxism and high culture is that Mark. We've got a response here that was coming through. That Mark looking at the Marxist view of
Mm-hmm.
high culture,
Okay.
that sort of obviously reinforces kind of the middle class
Mm-hmm.
views.
Excellent.
Reinforces the idea
And
of
how
the
do they
ruling
do that?
class.
What sort of terms might you have put with that? How do they do that? How is that achieved? So having quick typing fingers here for some ideas. And there's a lot of you
Yeah.
you've said Marxism already. What's the counter theory to that?
Stereotypes. We've got stereotyping coming
Mm-hmm.
up. Some of the ideas is, I'm assuming that means sort of like stereotyping. The idea that sort of like high culture is for the middle classes. The ISA, the ideological
Mm-hmm.
state apparatus, and sort of like how it passes that down. And we can see that particularly if you tie that into, say, for example, the way high culture is transferred down into education.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to learn Shakespeare, you have to learn the literary canon. This is seen as having a higher value.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, when we talk about different cultures and different values, you may bring in another theorist who's influenced by Marxism, but is not
Mm-hmm.
really a Marxist. And it's the one that I can never ever pronounce.
Okay, so we've got any other ideas? Maybe from an alternative
Functionalism,
viewpoint?
we've got
Excellent.
functionalism, could argue is part of social mobility. Like it is, so obviously as people learn it, they move up through social mobility. Is the MC, is like it's the middle class's place, I see. So it helps them sort of like move up social mobility by learning
Excellent.
high aspects of high culture. Yeah. We could
Excellent. So should
also
we see
bring
the
in
ideas?
Bourdieu there as well.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you've written way more, but obviously I was going for sort of the Marxist idea with the culture of capital, but obviously I could have, like you said, mentioned ideological state apparatus without us there. And then obviously you've got the counter argument, which is obviously the functionist idea of meritocracy, achieved status, social mobility, role allocation, the idea that high status is something that's achieved. So it's those ideas, and I think it's coming back down to sort of revising. Actually, this is not sociology is hugely synoptic, and I keep on saying this that there's stuff that you like. Craig's just mentioned earlier that you can pull from education, maybe pulling in like they talked about the literacy and the idea of textbooks and material like that sort of ensure that high culture is achieved. So yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Okay. We did have a Marxist
Again, the
feminine
theory
one
for you.
there as well, so they
And
talked about
where's
the
it?
women class men.
Oh, excellent. Sorry. And where's it going to link? Global culture.
Ooh, global.
Okay.
That
Again, what
always
theory?
when you talk about global culture, there's always one or two theories that really spring to mind whenever you hear that phrase, global culture.
Yeah. So, what theory should you be using to analyse or understand global culture?
Particularly things like process. Obviously, global culture is a part of a process of globalization, which may give you a hint as to what kind of theoretical approach you may look at that for. We've got postmodernism coming up here, which is the kind of hint we were given there. How might postmodernists view
Heavy
this
hint.
idea of global society?
Okay, let's get some ideas.
What type of views might we have of global culture, according to postmodernists?
What concepts might you relate to that? And I think that's the key. I think, what you don't want to do is shoehorn theories in for the sake of it. For each culture on that list, there is a particular theory or theories that would be best suited to it. So there might be no need to talk about a particular theory because it's not related or it's not the best one to use. And a lot of you said postmodernists already.
We've got a couple of concepts coming through: hyperreality, which obviously is like a good link in with like a
Excellent.
growth of media, westernization, homogenization of
Fantastic.
cultures, all really good responses that you could look at from that postmodern viewpoint, analyzing global culture, how obviously how globalization leads to a homogeneous culture, McDonaldization. That's another nice concept to bring in
Nice
there. So
one.
like how we can how we're able to produce goods and services anywhere in the world to a certain level, to a certain set standard. There's lots of good things coming through there for McDonaldization. If you wanted to go the other way, you could potentially look at Marxist views and how might they view the process of globalization. Obviously, they're going to suggest that it's a form of cultural imperialism as well. There, you could look at that too. Let's see what you've put, Katie.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's see
again,
where
you've
you went with
written
it.
loads for me. I've gone just put some of the postmodernist ideas there, obviously declining meta narratives around sort of global culture, obviously culture diversity, which is sort of a more positive spin. It depends on what angle you take that from. But then obviously you've talked about cultural imperialism. Obviously, gone the Coca-Cola. I think it's sort of changed the spelling on the typing, but the Coca-Cola-ization. I think that's supposed to say it's not colonization.
Colonization, yeah.
Yeah. But also you talked about McDonald'sization. You've got pick and mix. There's lots there, and I think that's the key. It's the application they're looking. It's not looking for a list of key concepts. They're looking for the application. So how does that actually explain our understanding of globalization or global culture, or you were talking about earlier, hyperreality? How are you going to apply those concepts across? It sounds like you've got a wealth of knowledge. You're in good stead for next week. So plenty there for you to talk about. I'm going to pass you on to Craig now.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. In this one, we're going to do a little bit of an overview, sort of like of the media. We have a connection wall here, and there are a number of different themes that run through this. So you've got 16 terms in front of you. The way I'm going to do it today is I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to identify 4 concepts from that topic. So I'm going to start out with: can you identify on that screen 4 models of media? 4 models of media are from that screen. If you just want to type those in. I've got to admit, I have probably made this first one a little bit easier because the 4 models all have model written after them.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So we've got uses and gratifications model. Yes, that is a model of media. 2-step flow model. Yep. 2 more in there. Cultural effects model. Yep. And that leaves us with 1 left to find.
One more model
Finding
to
it through
find.
there. Well done, Christopher. Sorry, something like saying cultural effects model. 1 more to find in there. The hypodermic syringe model. Well done. Can we reveal those, John?
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go. For our second set of 4, what we would look for is we are looking for features of the new media, which obviously is part of the AI specification point. So can you give me 4 features of the new media that are listed up there? Oh, we've got some already. Convergence. Interactivity, yeah, interactive.
Someone's been revising their new media.
So you should. It's the advanced information spec point. It'd be nice if you got a 20-mark question on sort of like features of the new media. Digital, yeah, there's the other one, and there's one missing. It's what you're doing right now. Participation, there you go. Let's reveal those, John, please. There you go. And the next one are 4 groups that may be subject to stereotyping within the media. And certainly negative stereotypes. Sorry, my chat box has just popped off a minute there. So we have women, we have ethnic minorities, we have women, 2 people to put women in there. Yep. Working class. And one last group. Tend to be quite negatively stereotyped. There you go, the elderly. Well done. Let's reveal those, John. Now, what I would like you to do with the last 4, can you identify the common theme between those 4? So simulacrum, cultural hybridity, hyperreality, and the global village. What might link those 4 together? What might link those 4 together in terms of the media? Maybe think about who might talk about these ideas. Globalization is a good shout. Postmodern views and concepts. Let's reveal it, John.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's the concept of postmodernity and media. We could have gone with globalization as well, I think, because there were some very much concepts that we would link in with globalization. Okay, so that's a brief overview of media. Let's look at some of the actual specific stuff that's on the advanced information. Here, we're going to look at the 2 different perspectives that you need to know, the neophiliac perspective and the cultural pessimist perspective. What I would like to do, we're going to give you 60 seconds. We have 8 concepts down the right-hand side of the screen there: lack of regulation, loss of social capital, revitalizing democracy, digital divide, participatory culture, increased choice, greater interconnectedness, and cultural imperialism. I would like you to organize those 4, or categorize, I should say, those 8 concepts into the 2 different perspectives. So which of those would be neophiliac perspectives? Which of those would be cultural pessimist perspectives? 60 seconds. Let's start the clock. The clock's going as it ticks down. So one side you might put neophiliac perspectives. Of course, neophiliacs are very positive about the media. Cultural pessimists, less so. That might give you a little bit of a hint as to how you might organize these. So you might just put NP and then the numbers, and then CP and then the numbers.
Took the word straight out of my mouth. That's what I was just thinking. I think maybe just put the numbers in. That'd be great.
Yeah. Having to try and type away interconnectedness is not great. Okay, so we've got neophiliacs 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, cultural pessimists 1, 2, and 4. Ooh, we've still got 15 seconds left if you want to change any of those. I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong yet. We've got 60 seconds. It's coming up to the end.
Quick time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just for those, the others of you normally tune in, we don't have any music today because Duncan's not here. He's usually in the background playing one of his instruments, and that's where we get the music from.
I was about to say.
But he's not here today. Oh, sorry. Obviously,
Wow.
It's like he's left a drum, a cymbal crash in the background, though. Let's have a look at our answers. We put neophiliacs 3, 5, 6, and 7. Spot on. And 3, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. And cultural pessimists 1, 2, 4, and 8. Well done. And that was done very, very quickly. I think you got that in there about the first response was in there within 45 seconds. So that's fantastic. Pretty good going there. Our neophilia perspective: increased choice, a participatory culture, revitalizing democracy, and greater interconnectedness. And of course, on the other side, the cultural pessimists, there is a lack of regulation over new media. There is a digital divide about who can access the media. There can be accusations of cultural imperialism and a loss of social capital. That is the idea that we don't interact with each other because we are interacting online. So we don't actually interact in person to person. So let's go to our final activity today. And the final activity is the value wheel. I know we normally do a word smash, but as I said, Duncan's on holiday, so no word smashes this week. He is the master of the word smash. So we're going to do some evaluations instead. Now, an evaluation, of course, we know is a judgment, and it can be based upon a number of different criteria, a number of different prompts we're going to give you. It could be a strength, it could be a criticism, an alternative, what might another viewpoint suggest, a limitation, what does the point not explain, or some evidence that either supports or criticizes that. So you might use statistics, you might use research evidence, something like that. What we're going to see, if we just move on to the next slide, please, is that we're going to see a statement that a student has made. And the statement they've made here is that the new media provides greater choice for consumers. We're going to prompt you to evaluate that now by spinning the wheel.
Where will the wheel lie? Let's see.
Where will it lie? And it's going to ask us for an alternative view. So the new media provides greater choice for consumers. That might be from a certain perspective. What might be an alternative view, and who might suggest it, and why might they suggest it? So this idea that new media gives us a greater choice in how we consume media messages. It gives us a greater choice, in how we purchase goods and services, how we access the media. What might be an alternative view? Who might suggest otherwise?
And think about that list we've just looked at. The categorised list.
It provides false needs. That's a good one. So from a Marxist viewpoint, cultural pessimist viewpoint, certainly from a Marxist viewpoint, we would look at the idea that sort of like it does provide false needs. Let's look at mine, because I did go from a more critical viewpoint. Cultural pessimists suggest quality has been sacrificed for quantity. So even though we have a greater choice of how we access the media, perhaps the media is not as good a quality. And having spent half an hour on TikTok this afternoon, I would say that's definitely the case. You know, the quality.
I feel like I need to have a question about why you were on TikTok for half an hour.
It was during a break. I got lost. I got lost down the usual new media rabbit hole while I was doing some research. Although I did find some good recipes for steak, which I was quite happy about. Okay, so our next statement. Well, how to cook steaks better. New media is largely unregulated, and this generates problems for society. Let's spin the wheel. Is the new media largely unregulated? Let's see. What is the strength of this argument? So the argument has been put forward. It's clearly kind of a cultural pessimist viewpoint that the idea that the new media is largely unregulated, it generates problems for society. How can we back this up? What is the strength of that argument there? What could prove that argument? And of course, that is a form of evaluation, making a judgment on how effective you've put. How effective an argument that you've put is a form of evaluation. So what could prove this idea that the new media is largely unregulated? Bit of a tougher one, but I think it's sort of like if you open up, if you look at any thread on Twitter, you could probably use the exact. You can probably get some good examples of this. How can we back up this idea? Okay, so we've got the accessibility of racist and homophobic content for young people. Let's see what I put. Well, I've worked with fake news sites that provide disinformation, partisan reporting, but you can also sort of like look at things like cyber trolling, racist abuse, homophobic abuse, transphobic abuse, sort of like all of the different forms of abuse that are there. And one of the big problems that we have with the new media is whilst it has some form of regulation, because it is a global entity, because of the mass number of entries that are put on, it largely relies upon the audience to regulate it by reporting it to agencies, and then somebody has to make a decision on those, and those decisions aren't always what most people would sort of like suggest. Let's look at our final evaluation. The new media has revitalized democracy. Let's spin this wheel now and let's see what we're going to come up with.
Where's
new media has revitalized democracy. What evidence supports or criticizes this statement? So what evidence might suggest that the new media has revitalized democracy? Do we think that the new media has revitalized democracy? Maybe sort of particularly sort of like with evidence here, maybe think of some quite high profile cases that involve the new media, that might be something to look at. So certainly something to consider.
I was thinking of a particular person.
The one who's trying to buy things recently. Public sphere groups on
Yes.
social networking sites. So Black Lives Matter, Russia, Ukraine war. That is a really good response. It's not the one I've gone with, but you could definitely use that. So like how it shapes people's opinions, how it brings people together to challenge some of these ideas. So for example, Black Lives Matter movement on social media will bring people together to try and force a change, and this would back up the idea of the new media revitalizing democracy. Some of the campaigns over Ukrainian
The
refugees
hashtag
put
Me
pressure onto
Too
other
as well.
people. Me too. Yeah, that's a good one. Sort of like really good one to use. Sort of like going back into kind of like what we'd see as being digital feminism now. Let's move on. Look at my response. I used a very quite high profile response here. So interference by organisations in elections. So the Cambridge Analytica scandal led to questions how new media is used by those in power. If you're not aware of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, it was where Cambridge Analytica sold data to allow it to be used to influence the way in which undecided voters voted, and therefore sort of like we can see how the new media can abuse power, and in some ways it is stopped a little bit of democracy, because it's alleged that it was involved in the 2016 American elections and Brexit as well. And you could also bring in and forget the name of the actual report, the alleged Russian influence in the Brexit vote as well. Some brilliant responses there. Let's go back to John.
Yeah, fantastic responses.
There you
Thank you to those who contributed to the live chats. If you're watching this on replay, hopefully you've gone through some of those questions as well. Obviously had a little bit more time. Massive thank you, of course, to both Katie and to Craig for putting that together and delivering. And I guess, go for it, Craig, yep.
I was going to say just one last thing. We have updated a lot of the optional essay walkthroughs, and there's some for media and for culture and identity there. So if you want us to have a look at how we may have walked through kind of how to answer a culture and identity, there's a number of different activities that have been put up there this week. They're really worth checking out because they take you through a number of activities on how you might tackle a potential culture and identity or media essay, and for any of the other options if you're watching and don't do culture and media.
Brilliant stuff.
Amazing. Well done, guys. And good luck, by the way, for next week. That's the most
right.
important thing. We don't need good luck because you're fully prepared.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.